Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we talk about actions and the actions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively and otherwise. I am Theophilus Edelman standing in for Ibrahim Chita, who's currently in the United Kingdom. Today on the show, minimum wage celebrates Nigerian government ever planned nationwide hunger protest. The course of the program where we take your questions. But first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's also important to mention that you can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Good to see you, BKO.
Good to see you, Ibrahim.
Well, Brian, this is still for us, yes.
Good
Okay,
to see you,
so
Theophilus.
yes, sir. So this issue of the hunger protest that has been planned for August the 1st to August the 10th. What's your view of this situation? Many of the view that this will not hold, while others are optimistic that it will hold. But while that is going on, government is saying that it's doing all it can. Lives of the citizens are in good stead. But what do you think of the planned protest?
I think we all agree that in a democracy, protests are legitimate. Protests are ways by which the governed express their misgivings about the way they are being governed. There is no government that is by nature perfect. So, and governments are subordinate to the people. Leaders are in power and in government to serve the people. So if the people feel bad about the way the country is being run, it is within their rights to protest. It is legitimate in a democracy to protest. Even under a military regime, people protest. Protests are one of the tools by which good governance is encouraged. So I do not see anything wrong in protest. And I said back then, I supported the NSAS protest back then before the organizers made some mistakes that caused the protests to eventually fail and caused unnecessary pains to the people, you know. So this protest is legitimate. There's nothing wrong about a protest in a democracy. But I have never seen a protest that has triggered so much fear in the hearts and in the minds of people in government like this planned protest. There's tension in the land. The people in government are terrified because they believe that the protests are meant to achieve other goals, especially regime change. If you speak with anyone, I mean, Abuja currently, if you speak with people in government, what they will say to you is that the organizers of the protests are the people who hate the current government so much, who hate the key elements, key figures in the current government so much, and are eager to see the back of the government. And when you bear in mind the fact that popular opposition, popular mass action have led to regime change in some countries, you can then understand why there is so much panic in the seat of power about this protest that is being planned. No one knows the organizers. They've made themselves faceless. Only a few people are talking about it, but even the people talking about it are not owning up They are not coming out to say, yes, we are organizers of this protest. We are proud. We want to own this protest. We are not afraid to own this protest. That is why there's a lot of trepidation. The feeling that what transpired during the NSAS protests that later led to riots, that led to the opening up of prisons, that led to the destruction of more than 100 luxury buses belonging to the Lagos state government will happen this time. That is the fear that it could happen again. And again, I cannot say that that cannot happen. The level of anger allied with hunger will readily tell you that a protest in Nigeria can degenerate. In fact, the way Nigerians are hungry, it doesn't take mighty effort to mobilize them to come out and protest against the government of the day. People are hungry. Food prices have gone up rapidly in the last 6-7 months. And it seems that there is no means by which the government of the day can stop these prices from rising. There has to be a mechanism by which we can keep prices down. People are just selling goods and services at any price that they defeat. And middlemen are also running riots, buying produce off the ordinary farmers and hoarding them, and ultimately selling at exorbitant prices to the common man. So this, as well as some of the policies that we have seen, like the devaluation of our currency, the floating of our currency, and the removal of subsidy, have dealt a severe blow on the disposable income of the Nigerian people. And this has led to widespread hunger, widespread hardship, the sort of hardship that would easily make the enemies of the state to organize people easily to embark on the protest. We still recall that when we had the NSAS protest, invariably the organizers, although they were faceless too and they had no leader, began to talk about regime change. They kept saying Buhari must go, Buhari must go, and that triggered the resistance from a section of the Nigerian populace, especially in Abuja, where people were then physically attacking the protesters, just as we saw in Lagos. They attacked the protesters, especially in the Alausa area, but the protesters overpowered them. But in Abuja, the protesters were overpowered, and it led to loss of lives. So no one is sure of the extent to which this one can go. This protest can go. No one is sure. Many people believe that it could actually bring down the government of the day. Many people believe that it will lead to so much violence, widespread violence, attack on the homes of politicians and all that. So that is why many people would rather not have this protest take place at all, because they are scared about the aftermath of the protest. They are scared about what could happen in the course of the protest. And you can see the president has been holding meetings with traditional rulers. The APC also held meetings with the state chairmen across the country, advising them to work with their governors to ensure that these protests do not take place. There are many groups that are pulled out of the protests, but if you ask me, I cannot give a guarantee that the protest will not take place. I can't give that firm guarantee that the protest will not take place. And it is even possible for the organizers to start the protests in a manner that will catch the government and the security agencies unawares. Yes, the dates for the commencement of the protest have been advertised. But what if they start the protest before before the date that was advertised? What if they start the protest much later? So the point that I'm making is there is so much trepidation, there is so much panic in the um, in the government houses at state level, even Nassau Rock. There is so much panic about this protest. You know, so this is the situation that we find ourselves.
Okay.
The IG has said that the protesters should provide details of their names, contacts of protest leaders to minimize risk of violence, so that the police, and then they are to provide information about the assembling point for the protest, the duration of the protest, and details of the proposed routes that the protesters will go through in the course of the protest. According to the police, this is in line with um, global best practices, and it is meant to ensure public safety. But so far, no one has come forward to tell the police that this is the assembly point, this is the duration of the protest, this is the route that the protesters will take, and uh, the tension continues. Multiple groups are withdrawing, but we are also aware that so many other groups are prepared to protest. So many Nigerians are prepared to protest because they are not happy about the state of affairs in our country, especially the rise in the constantly rising food prices in our country that has turned many Nigerians to beggars. On the streets, you see people come to you. Some will say, "Look, I'm not asking you for money. Can you just buy me a derica of rice so that I can feed my family?" The situation is really dire. More and more Nigerians have become beggars because they simply can't feed themselves unless they are assisted. Now we have to admit that government is taking some steps, like massive food imports are coming in. But I wish that some of these steps had been taken earlier, rather than imagine that Nigerians can brave the terrible situation that they are facing. I wish that some of these steps, I wish that the president had been advised appropriately to take some of these steps before now, instead of waiting for Nigerians to plan a protest which can end up in a way that we cannot predict before rolling out some of these steps that will help us address the hunger in the land. Many people are also asking for the president to, at this stage, address the nation. And if we can address the nation, it will help calm frayed nerves. I also support that motion, in inverted commas, that the president, as the father of the nation, must address the Nigerian people, because this planned protest is not a rumor anymore.
True.
It is clear that people are bent on protesting, so the president has to address the nation and calm the tension in the land, and come up with steps that will help reduce the pain that the Nigerians are facing, and it is not ordinary Nigerians alone, a wide spectrum of Nigerians is going through unbearable pain. The president has to step up, has to step in and let Nigerians know what exactly he intends to do to address this growing hunger in the land.
All right, so earlier in the day, we got information that the IGP of police has said that two groups have been identified, and they have sent a letter to the police,
Theophilus?
to the IGP. All right, sir.
Theophilus.
So
All right,
yeah,
sir.
so two.
Yeah,
I
so
was saying earlier, possibly because of
possibly because of
the audio went off. I was saying earlier that two groups have the IGP had confirmed earlier that two groups had come out to also say that they are part of the protest, and they've spoken to the police, and some directives have been given to them. But of course, we have some comments here and some questions for the maestro. Now, I will start with Oludolakpo Banjoko. Okay, we've taken rectified that audio issue. TJ Associate said, BKO, do you think PBAT should address the country in general on the protest? Of course, that he has answered. Ogechi Evongwa is saying Nigerians should protest through the ballot papers in 2027. Ismail Akinkumi says, I'm expecting Mr. President should quickly address the nation on this protest issue. And Promise Emmanuel says, BKO, good evening, sir. Zaid Mohammed Imam says it would be good if the president could address the country. And Jide of 4 says, if the government wants to stop the protest, let the government solve the least of the protesters. Now, BKO, let's go on to talk about the demands of the protesters so far. Many have said it's not feasible. What's your take on that?
Yeah, as I've said, look, the protesters are talking about bad governance in our country. Bad governance defined in various ways. Hunger in the land, policies that have induced hunger in the land, to them is bad governance. But we also know that reforms also come with pain. In many of the places where reforms have been introduced, the people have not found it easy. What the people want to see, and I have had people saying, return our subsidy. So these people, subsidy must return, because the government didn't come up with effective antidote to the pains induced by subsidy. So they are asking that subsidy be brought back. I doubt if this condition can be met by the president. Even as we speak, subsidy is still being paid in another guise on petroleum product, especially premium motor spirit. So I doubt if that demand can be met. But the demands of a good number of the guys who want to protest, I dare say, is for the government of the day to pack its bag and go. How anyone expects the government of the day elected to simply leave the scene? I wish I understand. So it's just like it happened during the NSAS. When young people have this kind of opportunity, the possibility is there that they will expand their demands, especially if the protest is successful. But for a protest to be successful, it has to be properly organized, and the people have to also show commitment. They have to show tenacity. How much of that can we expect to see from the organizers of this protest? I think that they will find it difficult to organize the protest in many parts of the country. It could, in fact, be limited to a few states. Could be limited to a few states. Already ethnic meanings are being read into this protest. And when ethnicity gets introduced to a matter in Nigeria, support begins to diminish for such a matter, because once religion or ethnicity gets thrown in, some people would want to withdraw. But what we all want to see is a Nigerian that works for everybody. That is the Nigeria that I want to see. And I've said before that if a policy of government is not working, government should not be afraid to tweak that policy or drop it entirely. My friend and younger brother, who is based in the US, Dr. Abbas Adetunji, reposted my comment on Facebook where I said, if a policy of government is not working, there's a need to take a second look at that policy. Either you dump it or you tweak it in a manner that will now make it much more effective in addressing the problem that prompted that policy to be instituted in the first place. So this is my position on this matter. I do not want to see Nigerians suffer. I do not want to see Nigerians in pains. But the truth is, a lot of our people are facing unbearable pain. People who in their lives felt too proud to borrow others for money, to borrow money from other people. They are beginning to borrow money from people. They are beginning to take loans here. They are beginning to physically beg without pretending, just so that they can feed their families, just so that they can pay their children's school fees. The situation has to change for the good of everyone.
All right, now the situation has to change. That's a good way to end that part of the of the segment. But some comments here say, Benjamin Idako is saying the pain is much. They actually took Nigerians for granted. The politicians have divided us along religious and ethnic lines. A flamboyant lifestyle, how can they win the confidence of the citizens back? And Yola Koka says, cut down on the cost of government officials, government rather. Officials are living too large. So we will move to another topic of discussion that happened today. So, Maestro, you can hear me?
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, so we're going to move to another topic of discussion at this point. The sudden death of Ifeanyi Ubah, the 52-year-old senator who died in London, and the story broke out this afternoon, and it's something that wasn't expected, but it happened. Maestro, talk to us about the man himself, Senator Ifeanyi Ubah.
It's unfortunate that we lost Dr. Ifeanyi Ubah at a time when his country and his community needed him the most. At just a few months short of 53 years, you cannot say that he died at a ripe age. Certainly not. But when you're talking about a man with an exemplary heart of gold, a prominent philanthropist, there are not many people like Ifeanyi Ubah. We dropped out of school at the Premier Academy Lugbe in Abuja at a young age to learn a trade because his parents couldn't raise the money for his education. But he went on to become successful in business. He became an importer of motor tires and spare parts, exporting to countries like Ghana, Sierra Leone, Democratic Republic of Congo. And he also expanded this business to countries in Europe, like Belgium, and the United Kingdom. He founded the Capital Oil, one of the big downstream oil companies in our country. Founded it in 2021. We bought the popular football club, Gabros International Football Club, named it Ifeanyi Ubah Football Club. Built a fantastic stadium, and his popularity was never in doubt. It takes an immensely popular man to contest for Senate on the platform of YPP, Young People's Party. We never knew about that party, but he contested on the platform of that party and was elected, defeating the major political parties in our country. That's to tell you his popularity at the grassroots level. Until his death, nobody could defeat him in his constituency. No one. No one. And all of this were due to his commitment to the progress of not just Anambra South, but Nigeria as a whole. I remember in September 2022, he was attacked, during which he lost 5 of his aides, 2 of them policemen, while he was traveling. I think his attack took place around Enugu, moving from Nnewi to Enugu. He got attacked around Enugu. I can't say where I was going at that time, but it was attacked around Enugu. Those guys were killed. What saved him was the fact that he was driving in a bulletproof jeep. So you can imagine the man who cheated death in the hands of assassins, only to die in the UK. I was told I went to the UK to hold some meetings and all that. Ifeanyi Ubah was naturally very aggressive. Anything that he wants, he pursues it with single-mindedness and hard work. He hardly slept. He was always holding meetings late into the night. And some people will argue that this contributed to his death. I still remember the empowerment scheme that he organized recently. No Nigerian politician, living or dead, has ever organized an empowerment scheme for the people as big as what we saw now, Ifeanyi Ubah organized in Nnewi some months back. The whole stadium was full. No governor, no Nigerian has given out such empowerment tools on such a big scale as Ifeanyi Ubah did. And I remember calling him to congratulate him, to say, look, I've never seen anything like this. Buses, tricycles, sewing machines, name it. The stadium was filled to capacity. It was a carnival-like atmosphere, and the who is who in our country were present because it was such a big event that we saw on live television. He also significantly, to show you how committed he was to peace and progress in the Southeast, it was Ifeanyi Ubah and Eze Chukwuemeka Eri that went to the DSS detention facility to meet Nnamdi Kanu and convince him to cancel the sit at home policy instituted by IPOB as a form of civil disobedience. Nnamdi Kanu adjusted it to be effective only on the days that he was being brought to court. But young people, some of them cultists, continue to enforce the sit-at-home protest. So, Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, of blessed memory now, went with the Eze Chukwuemeka Eri, one of the most respected traditional rulers in Nigeria today, not just Southern Nigeria, Nigeria today. They went with him to the detention facility and got Nnamdi Kanu to agree to cancel sit-at-home. And Nnamdi Kanu did not just agree, he gave the directive in his own hand. He was made to write and sign, and no more sit-at-home. For him to have taken the pain to go there to convince Nnamdi Kanu to give up sit-at-home, that should tell you the extent to which Ifeanyi Ubah was committed to the peace, progress, and development of the Southeast and our country as a whole. He was planning to contest the governorship of Anambra State. And I say that with his death, the person who could have given Governor Chukwuma Soludo a run for his money is already out of the way. This is a massive loss to politics in our country, because at the age of 53, he certainly had age on his side. He planned to do a lot more for his people, but death took him away. As we always say, as people believe in God, God knows best. We will all die at some point, but we do not know when it will please God to take us away. But this is a debt, or this is a debt, that's the way it's pronounced. This is the debt that we all owe. Every one of us will die someday. At this point, I can only say good night, my friend Ifeanyi Ubah. He died just after we became friends, because I sent a crew to cover his empowerment, the mega empowerment scheme, the biggest of its kind in our country. I sent a crew to cover it, and he sent me a message that you sent this crew without asking me for money in advance. This is how we know a friend. I'm quoting him exactly. We've lost a good man at a time when Nigeria needs him the most. May the soul of Senator Ifeanyi Ubah rest in peace.
Yes, may his soul rest in peace. Of course, the comment section on our YouTube channel also says that Ismaila Akifumi saying, God, why? TJ Associate also said, I'm shocked to read about Dr. Ubah's demise. We lost a giant patriot. So many comments here about man Ifeanyi Ubah. It shows that many people understand his philosophies. They follow everything he does for his people and are really happy with him. The nation will definitely miss such a man. Well, and that's our show for today, today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analysis, as always. Thank you so much, sir, for always giving us those beautiful analysis.
Thank you. Thank you. We've lost a champion, a big champion of empowerment, economic empowerment in our country. But God knows better.
God knows better, yes.
Goodbye, everyone.
All right, and thanks to you to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. Now you can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I am Theophilus Ilama, and on behalf of the rest of the team, see you again next edition. Bye for now.